CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I joined a YouTuber's crew I found through a dark web chat room. We tracked down one of America's eeriest urban legends, and we never should have filmed it. Alright, so let me just start off by saying, I'm not the kind of person who goes looking for creepy stuff. I'm not into horror movies like that. I don't believe in ghosts. And honestly, I've always kinda rolled my eyes at people who talk about the deep web like it's some haunted underground marketplace. That was until last summer. I was in this weird spot in life. I had just graduated college, was back home with my parents, and honestly, my whole routine was just wake up at 1 p.m., scroll TikTok until I hated myself, binge YouTube until 3 a.m., then repeat. I was doing literally nothing with my life. That's when I came across a video that changed everything. It was this weirdly low view count YouTube upload titled The Disappearance of Channel 103, a forgotten urban legend. It was sitting at like 742 views, had 0 comments, and the thumbnail was just a blurry image of a forest at night. The channel name was Ghost Eater. Now, usually I'd scroll past something like that, but it was late, like 2:30 a.m., and I was in that fried, half-dreamy state where you're not really thinking clearly, so I clicked. The video was weird. It wasn't polished like a Mr. Beast video, or even your average horror YouTuber stuff. It looked like it was shot on an old camcorder, and there were these janky edits spliced in, like clips of dead air and weird Morse code audio layered under static. The guy narrating didn't show his face. He just went by, hail, and he talked about this thing called Channel 103, like it was some cursed live stream that popped up in random places across the US. Always deep in the woods, always showing weird, pre-recorded footage of people staring directly at the camera, not speaking. It sounded like a made-up Blair Witch type of thing, except he showed a clip, just a few seconds, a broadcast from Mount Rainier, Washington. You could see trees barely lit up in green night vision, and in the corner was this hunched figure with a smile way too wide. I honestly thought it was fake, until I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The figure blinked. Wrong. Like both eyes blinked sideways. I paused the video, rewound, blinked again. Anyway, that should have been my cue to click off, right? But then this little note popped up at the end of the video. It wasn't in the description. It was actually in the video, like it was spliced in right before the final frame. Join us. Channel 103 is still broadcasting. Find us where the spiders sleep. Durkin, Darknet link. Now, before you ask, no, I'm not about to say I just clicked on a deep web link like an idiot. I almost did, but I didn't have Tor installed or any VPN stuff. Instead, I googled that weird hashtag #, spider emoji. Nothing. I checked Instagram, Reddit, even Pinterest. Still nothing. But then I got a DM from a brand new Instagram account. No profile pic, no posts, just the username, At Hale the Hollow 103. The message was one word. You looked. I just stared at it for like 5 minutes. I hadn't liked or commented on the video. I hadn't posted anything. How would anyone even know I watched that video? But here's the thing that sent a shiver straight down my spine. My full name was in the message preview. Like, I didn't click the message yet, but it said, you looked. My first and last name. Join the crew. We need eyes, I won't lie. I threw my phone across the room. I didn't respond. I just turned everything off, went to bed, and told myself it was some elaborate ARG or whatever. But the next morning, I got a package, delivered by hand. No return address, just sitting on the front porch, like it had been dropped off early. My name was written on the box in thick black marker, shaky, all caps letters. Inside, a burner phone, and a folded up printout of a Google Maps pin. It was pointing to Amicalola Falls, Georgia, a real place, a popular hiking spot, beautiful waterfall, but the exact location on the map was not the public trail. It was a spot deep in the forest, like off the grid, no path leading to it. Taped to the burner phone was a sticky note that said, film everything. Hale will find you. That should have been the end of it. I should have reported it, thrown the phone in a river, something. But here's the thing. A few hours later, I turned the burner on. I couldn't help myself. There was one saved video. It was 12 seconds long. The camera was pointed toward a fire pit in the middle of the woods. 4 people were standing around it. They were all wearing camera gear, like they were part of a YouTube crew or something. But behind them, in the shadows, was that same hunched figure from the channel 103 broadcast. Except this time, it was smiling at the camera. And right before the video cut off, one of the people looked up, screamed, and dropped the camera. The last frame, someone whispering, "He's still broadcasting. Don't look away." I know this sounds like a made-up horror story. I get that. I wouldn't believe it either. But that trip to Amicalola Falls, I went. Yeah, I went. And what I found out there changed everything I thought I knew about the internet, about people, about reality. I left the house around 3:42 a.m. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post anything. I didn't even bring my real phone. All I had was that burner, a fully charged camera, the same Canon I used to film skits back in college, and a backpack with some cheap camping gear I got from Walmart 2 years ago and never used. I drove 6 hours straight. No music. The farther I got from Atlanta, the more it started feeling off. I know everyone says rural areas feel eerie at night, but this wasn't like that. The highway sign stopped making sense. One said, exit 103, forgotten viewpoint. And when I passed it, there was no exit, just trees. When I finally got close to the GPS coordinates, the road just ended. No warning, no detour sign. The pavement just dissolved into packed dirt, like someone had erased part of the world. The burner vibrated in my pocket. New message. From Hale, MSG. You're close. Stay quiet when the static starts. I stepped out of the car, and for a second, I really did think about turning back. But there was this feeling, like if I didn't go, I'd regret it forever. Like something was pulling at the center of my chest, physically yanking me toward the woods. The sun was just starting to rise when I crossed the tree line. The deeper I went, the quieter everything became. No birds, no wind, Not even bugs. It was like the forest was holding its breath. About 40 minutes in, I found it. Or rather, I found them. 3 tents, set up in a crooked triangle around a dead fire pit. Tripods knocked over. A camera hanging from a tree branch by its strap, swinging slowly like it had just been left. Everything was abandoned, except the GPORO. It was still on, still recording. When I pressed the button, it made a noise I can only describe as a glitchy moan, and the screen went to static, just pure black and white snow. That's when the air changed. You ever walk into a room where something horrible happened, even if you don't know what? That sharp cold that settles between your ribs, like your body knows something your brain can't explain. That's what it felt like. The trees around the campsite weren't moving, but I swear they were closer, like they were watching. I turned around, ready to go, but then I heard it. That voice. "Are you filming?" It was faint, but it was coming from the tree line. I held up my camera and slowly walked toward it. Every step I took felt like I was sinking into something. The moss beneath my feet didn't feel like ground anymore. It was too soft, too wet. And then I saw her. A girl, maybe 19 or 20, kneeling in the clearing. She was wearing a hoodie that said, "Subscribe to Ghost Eater" on the front, blood on the sleeve. Her eyes were wide, locked on me, like she hadn't blinked in hours. She opened her mouth, but instead of words, she made a static crackling sound, like an old TV stuck on a dead channel. I don't know what made me film her. I think part of me thought it was all still just a bit, some elaborate YouTuber prank. But then, she started screaming. Not a normal scream. It was this modulated sound, like her vocal cords were being ripped apart and played back through a broken speaker. She pointed behind me, and I made the worst mistake of my life. I turned around. There was a man, sort of. His face looked duplicated, like someone had copied and pasted it from a stock photo and blurred it at the edges. His mouth was open, but not moving, like it was stuck mid-sentence. His eyes were completely black, and every few seconds they'd flicker with static, like a corrupted VHS tape. He took a step forward. The girl disappeared. I swear to God, she just flickered like a glitched GIF and vanished. I ran. I didn't even grab my bag. I sprinted through those woods until my lungs felt like they were about to burst. The trees were closer now, packed tighter, branches scraping my face like hands. I swear one of them laughed. By the time I collapsed, I was in a part of the woods I hadn't seen before. There was a shed. Yeah, like a literal tool shed, just sitting in the middle of nowhere, like it had spawned in a video game. It had no door, just a sheet of plastic covering the entrance. Inside, 4 TVs, stacked in a pyramid, all of them playing something different. Top screen showed a McDonald's dining room. Empty. The camera was just sitting on the floor, watching the self-serve kiosk. The second screen showed a Starbucks bathroom, mirror cracked, lights flickering, a figure standing just out of frame, breathing hard. Third screen, a YouTube dashboard, someone scrolling through unlisted videos, all titled, "Eyes on Me 001, Eyes on Me 002, Eyes on Me 003, all the way up to 103. The fourth screen, it showed me, standing in the forest. Right then, like it was live. I started backing away, and then the fourth screen changed. It showed hail. I think it was him, anyway. He was sitting in front of a wall of static, just smiling, bleeding from the nose, whispering something I couldn't quite hear. I leaned closer, and this is what he said. If you're still watching this, you've already seen him. That's how it works. The 103rd viewer becomes the new broadcaster. He can't find you unless you look directly into the feed. But if you film him, he can come through the lens. The screen started glitching. Something crawled out of the corner. I didn't wait to see what it was. I took one of the tapes stacked beneath the monitors, labeled Project Signal Burn, and I ran. Again. Somehow, I found my car. Don't ask me how. I don't remember walking that far. But when I opened the door, the interior light flickered like crazy, and the GPS was already loaded. New location. Hale's message popped up again. Next stop, the broadcast tower. You're in it. Now, I'm back home now. But everything's changed. My real phone won't stop glitching. Every time I open Instagram, I see faces I don't recognize in my close friends' stories. My camera won't turn off. It records by itself, even when I take the battery out. And the GoPro I brought back, I uploaded the footage onto my laptop. All the files are corrupted, except one. It's a video of me, sleeping. Except it's not my room. I haven't slept since. I hadn't slept in 68 hours. I couldn't. Every time I even closed my eyes, I'd hear it. Not a voice. Not exactly. Something deeper, like a signal trying to force itself through my skull. It started small, like a high-pitched whining noise behind my ears, like bad tinnitus. Then it became images, flashes, impossible things. I'd see flashes of people I'd never met, screaming into cameras with their faces reversed, like Inside Out, but wrong, like wax sculptures that were beginning to melt. I saw eyes blinking from inside screen monitors, a family sitting down to dinner in complete silence while the TV bled down the wall behind them, and every single dream ended with that same goddamn tower, steel, rusted, standing in the middle of nowhere, its red light blinking like a heartbeat, always blinking, never stopping. Every time I tried to cover my eyes, I'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, with the burn mark from the GoPro battery casing on my chest, the GoPro that never turns off. The night I left again, I blacked out, like legit, full blackout. One moment, I was sitting on my bathroom floor, staring into the sink, and the next, I was driving, somewhere deep in Tennessee. Burner phone on the dashboard, GPS chirping. Proceed to the broadcast tower. Estimated arrival, 3:03 a.m. I tried turning the phone off. It just turned back on. At some point, I passed a Waffle House, but it looked wrong. The lights were on, but the inside was empty, except for a guy sitting motionless in the corner booth, facing the wall. A TV behind the counter played pure static. The sign out front didn't say Waffle House. It said Channel 103, now streaming live. I didn't stop. I couldn't. When I got to the tower, the first thing I noticed was how quiet the land was. Not peaceful quiet. Dead quiet. No crickets, no traffic, no air, just a vacuum. The tower itself was old, taller than any building I'd ever seen in person, covered in vines. It stood behind a chain-link fence with a crooked sign, Property of Signal Corp. Do not broadcast. I climbed the fence. The inside of the compound was littered with shattered cameras, like dozens of them. DSLRs, phones, camcorders, even old VHS recorders, all smashed to pieces, piled up like a trash heap against the base of the tower. The only camera still intact was mounted at the top of the staircase. Red light blinking. Live. There was a hatch built into the ground beneath it, rusted shut. But when I got close, it creaked open by itself. Inside was an elevator shaft with a chain lift system and a metal platform. There were symbols scratched into the walls. Not graffiti, not tags. Tally marks. Hundreds of them. Some vertical, some sideways, some carved with fingernails. I got on the lift, pulled the chain. It took 11 minutes to descend. The bottom wasn't dirt or cement. It was rubber. Soft, like old playground padding. But it stank of vinegar and burnt hair. And something else. Something like meat left out in the sun. There was only one hallway, lined with broken mirrors. Every few feet, a new one. But here's what got me. None of them reflected me. They reflected him, the broadcaster, always standing behind me, no matter which mirror I looked at, never moving, just grinning, wide, too wide, like his jaw had been snapped and wired that way. Sometimes I'd hear a crackle of static, and his reflection would twitch. I stopped looking after the third one started bleeding from the mouth. At the end of the hallway was a recording room, like a studio, but ancient. Everything was covered in dust and ash. A ring of dead TVs surrounding a giant old-school tube monitor, the kind you'd see in the 80s. On the desk, there was a journal, handwritten. It belonged to someone named Corey, one of the original Ghost Eater crew. The journal was dated 2014. The last entry read, "We thought we were just making a series, just chasing a cool ARG, but it's real. The tower isn't transmitting signals, it's collecting them. Every face it captures becomes part of the feed. Every viewer becomes part of the network. We uploaded episode 103 3 days ago. It uploaded us back. Don't film him. Don't broadcast. Whatever you do, don't watch your own footage." I turned around and saw myself, standing behind the camera. Except, it wasn't me. Not really. The person had my face, but it was wrong. Pale, twitching, bleeding from the ears. Eyes pure black, mouth still moving, even though no sound came out. I ran to the monitor and did the one thing I knew I shouldn't. I played the tape I brought from the forest. Project, signal burn. The monitor glowed red. The floor vibrated, and the audio kicked in. "We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a message from the broadcast. This isn't fiction. This isn't found footage. This is a virus, and you just let it in." The door behind me slammed shut. The mirrors shattered. Something climbed out of the screen. I don't even have words for what it looked like. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything. It was like a person-shaped absence, a distortion walking in the shape of a man. The space around it folded. The lights bent toward it. It moved like bad signal buffering, skipping forward in jerks and shudders. I screamed. Didn't care who heard me. But it didn't hurt me. It just leaned in, face inches from mine, and whispered, "Your stream begins now." I woke up in my car, back in my driveway. No blood, no bruises, no sign I'd ever left. Except, my camera was full. Every SD card was packed with footage I never shot. Videos of me, sleeping, eating, sitting on the toilet, always viewed from outside my windows. The final file? It was labeled Channel 104 Live Feed.mp4. I opened it. It was a live stream. Still running right now. I could see myself in it. Typing this, right now. Except behind me, The door was open, but I'm alone. I thought I was alone. Don't look for the tower. Don't follow Hale. Don't watch anything tagged #spider. Whatever this thing is, it's not just an urban legend. It's a parasite. And once you see it, it starts filming you. The night after I watched the channel 104 live feed.mp4 file, I locked myself in my basement. No windows, no signal, no screens. I ripped the power cord out of my computer, shattered my phone, taped over every lens in the house, even the microwave's little glossy reflection. I couldn't risk it. Not after what I saw in that video. Not after I saw myself blink twice in the span of a single frame, once vertically, once sideways. But I made a mistake. I left the TV plugged in. At exactly 3:33 a.m., it turned itself on. Volume maxed, but there was no sound, just that sickening, grainy, grey-black static that looked like it was shifting, like something behind it was trying to force its way forward. The screen flickered. A face. Mine. But warped, like it was recorded onto magnetic tape and played too many times. My mouth was opening, again and again, like a corrupted .gif. Each time it opened, the image lagged, then corrected, then lagged again, until finally, something stepped out of it. No transition, no dissolve, just cut, glitched jump. Now it was in the room with me. I don't remember what happened in the next hour, or however long it was. Time collapsed in that room, but I do remember the sound. It wasn't footsteps. It was like someone scrubbing VHS tape with sandpaper while crying. I think it made that sound. I think he did. When I woke up, if you can call it waking, I was on the floor, and the TV was gone. Not turned off. Not broken. Gone. Like the wall had never had one to begin with. Just clean drywall. But there was something drawn there now. Something etched into the paint with a fingernail, or maybe a knife. A crude, uneven circle with a single vertical slash through it. Right underneath, 3 words, watching from within. I was shaking, not from fear anymore. This was deeper, like my soul had hypothermia. I went back upstairs, but my house didn't feel like my house anymore. The walls were too wide. The windows didn't reflect. My bedroom smelled like burnt plastic and hair gel, and I haven't worn gel since high school. There was something new too. A package sitting neatly in the center of my bed, wrapped in black tape. No address, no postage. Inside, a flash drive and a sticky note. Play me or I'll stream without you. I don't know why I did it. I knew better, but I plugged it into the only thing I had left that could even read USBS, an old school Chromebook from college. The second I inserted it, the screen went black and began playing a video player that didn't exist. No controls, no exit button, just a video. The footage was from a hospital hallway. No date, no location, just the interior of some medical facility with flickering fluorescence and a gurney parked sideways, blocking half the hallway. The camera slowly panned toward a door at the end, labeled Room 103, and stopped. Then the door opened by itself. Inside, 4 people sat in a circle, facing each other, cameras mounted to their chests, each one strapped to a chair with rusted zip ties and belts. One of them I recognized. It was Corey, from the journal in the tower. His face had changed. His eyes were just open sockets now, black and crusted, blinking somehow without eyelids. His mouth was stretched open in a permanent scream, but no sound came out. He held up a sign to the camera. It said, "The broadcast is bleeding." Then they all started convulsing, violently, their arms and legs twitching like their skeletons were being rewritten in real time. One of them slumped forward, and I heard it, the low droning static that always came before he arrived. And from behind the camera, something stepped into the room. You ever seen a figure that just doesn't make sense? Not even in a that scary way. I mean logically. The proportions are wrong. The colors don't exist. The movement breaks physics. That's what it was. He, or it, was tall, but the height shifted. The shoulders twitched like something was inside him, wearing him like a broken puppet suit. Every time he stepped forward, the walls stretched, like reality was elastic around him. Then, the lights turned off, and the screen just cut to me again, sitting at my desk. But this time, you were there too. Yeah, you. The screen turned into a point of view shot, like a live stream. You could see my face on the screen, my room, everything. You could even hear me typing. And then, slowly, so slowly, it made me want to rip my teeth out from anxiety. The camera turned toward a mirror, and the reflection in it wasn't holding the camera. It was smiling, and it wasn't me. It was someone wearing me. The flash drive ejected itself. My Chromebook started melting. I mean that literally. The keys bubbled, and the screen began to sag like it was made of wax. I threw it into the bathtub and turned the water on, but the water came out black, and I swear to God, I heard screaming under the flow. Children screaming, like a classroom of kindergartners being fed into a wood chipper, one at a time. I ran, not out of the house, out of myself. I swear, I could feel my body becoming less real, like pixels fading into static. My arms felt numb, my vision glitched. I looked at my reflection in a window and saw half my face missing, replaced by white noise. I passed out. When I woke up, the world had changed. No, seriously, the world changed. Everything looks the same, but if you pay attention, it's not. People on the street don't blink right. Their eyes track in unison, like background non-player characters in a video game. Cars don't make sound anymore. Every time I walk past a digital billboard, it flickers and shows me myself for just a second. Every TV I see in public shows channel 103. Every Starbucks I walk into is empty, except for one worker with their back to me, always sobbing softly. And every time I hear someone say subscribe, I get a nosebleed. I think I'm changing. Not metaphorically, literally. I caught a glimpse of myself in a rearview mirror last night and watched as my reflection lagged 3 seconds behind. I'm not sure how long I have left before I'm not me anymore, before I'm part of the broadcast. Do you know what it feels like to wake up inside a recording? I don't mean like, oh, someone filmed me while I was asleep. I mean, you open your eyes and you feel the lens. You feel it in your skull, like there's pressure behind your eyeballs, like your pupils aren't yours anymore. They're ports, viewports. You're being streamed to something, someone, and every blink is a data point. Every second of your existence is part of a feed that you can't shut off, and somewhere, someone's watching you breathe, scratch, shiver, die. That's how I woke up after part 4. Except I wasn't in my house. I was strapped to a plastic lawn chair in the middle of an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese. Lights off, animatronics silent. Place smelled like burned cheese and bleach. Dried blood on the walls. No smear, just drips, like someone had stood still and leaked. There were cameras everywhere, mounted to the heads of the broken animatronics, dangling from the ceiling tiles, glued to the inside of the pulpit. One was even embedded into the eye socket of a Chuck E animatronic head, its LED flickering red and green like Christmas. I couldn't scream. My mouth was zip-tied shut, but not before I saw what was in front of me. A TV, old, big CRT, sitting on a pizza table, surrounded by melted tickets and crusted over pizza cutters. On the screen, me, right there, in real time, bound breathing, but it wasn't just me watching. I heard breathing from the shadows, wet breathing, like something with no nose. Then a figure crawled out from under the stage. It wasn't human. It used to be, but it wasn't anymore. Its limbs were jointed wrong, elbows bending in, knees like wet hinges. Its skin looked like melted HDMI cables, black, rubbery, oozing little sparks and static. There were pieces of metal growing out of its arms, like parts of broken drones, and foam parts had been fused into it. Its head was wrapped in film tape, like actual 8mm film, wound tightly around its skull, over its eyes, its mouth, and it was still wet. It stopped in front of me, lifted a mirror, held it up. I saw myself, but the reflection was buffering. It stuttered, froze, glitched, then smiled. The figure whispered through the tape, "Say goodbye to being local. You're live now," and the feed began. My memory after that is broken, fragmented, like a corrupted USB drive full of family videos that were filmed over with snuff films and surveillance footage from rooms no one's supposed to be in. But I remember clips. I remember fire, spreading across rows of VHS tapes, all labeled with people's names and timestamps. Screams echoing from speakers, even though the cords had been cut. I remember a wall covered in Polaroids. Every photo had the same theme. People watching screens that showed themselves, always from behind. I remember channel 105 trying to open, but something stopped it. They said no one gets past 103, that the network doesn't allow it, that 104 was never meant to happen, that what I did, filming him, watching my own footage, playing the tower tape, corrupted the natural end of the stream. And now there's a hole in the signal, a rip, and through that rip, he's coming in, not metaphorically, literally, into you. Right now, while you read this, you feel that tingling in your spine, that chill in your hands, that slight, slow motion pull toward your screen. That's not paranoia, that's resonance. There was a final room in the Chuck E. Cheese, behind the counter. Door labeled staff only, no filming. Guess what was behind it? Another studio. But this one was active, lined with editing rigs, most of them still rendering. Choppy cuts of me running, screaming. Footage I never recorded, but they had it. Timed, tagged, captioned. There were other people in the room, slouched in gaming chairs, cords snaking out of their backs, mouths open but not breathing. Their faces were stitched into static. Their fingers still clicked on the mouse, but the mice weren't even plugged in. And the biggest screen in the back showed you, right now, reading this. There was a final button on the desk. Big, red, no label, just a sticky note above it. Do not press unless you're ready to stream back. I pressed it, not because I wanted to, because something behind my eyes did, and the world ended. Not the fire and brimstone type of ending. Number. The real world kept going. People still went to school, got married, drank their pumpkin spice lattes, posted TikToks, But behind all of it, Channel 103 replaced everything. Every screen now has a feed. Every reflection is a delay. Every mirror you glance into has two versions of you now. The real one and the one that watches back. You won't notice it until you pause a video and see someone in the corner that wasn't there when you filmed it. Or until you go live on Instagram and someone joins with no username, no profile pic, just the name, the broadcaster, _103. I made it out. I don't know how, but I'm not me anymore. I'm the host now. I haven't slept in 13 days. My reflection hasn't blinked in 4. The last time I tried to break the cycle, Corey appeared in my camera roll, on a photo I took of my dog, behind the couch, just smiling. So now, I keep writing. I keep streaming. Because if I stop, the signal spreads without me. And that's worse. Because when the signal spreads on its own, it doesn't need cameras anymore. It starts using eyes. If you've read this far, you're already infected. You're already streaming. Your reflection knows more about you than you do. That voice you heard whisper your name in the shower last night, that wasn't stress. That wasn't sleep deprivation. That was your first subscriber. Welcome to Channel 103. You're live forever. My friend found a lost reality show pilot from the 90s on the dark web. We were told to stop watching. Long story short, I fucked up again. I was the paranoid once by titles like this, listening to Creepypasta on YouTube and falling asleep to videos like this. Now the time has come where I can't sleep no more, and I'm replaced on the screens telling you my story. Okay, as I said, I screw up, but I need to get this out. Even if no one believes me, maybe it'll make me sleep better at night, knowing someone else heard it. So this all started with my friend Tyler. He's the kind of dude that gets bored fast, always hopping from one sketchy corner of the internet to another, downloading weird torrents, poking through abandoned forums, all that. Like, one time he bought cursed VHS tapes off a Reddit thread just because they looked cool. We're both into retro horror stuff, like Are You Afraid of the Dark, old school Goosebumps, and those weird low-budget horror movies from the 90s where everything looks like it was filmed on a potato. So one night, we're just chilling in his apartment in Atlanta, watching crappy YouTube horror videos, and Tyler suddenly goes, "Dude, I think I found something insane." I look over, and he's got Tor open, the dark web. I'm like, "Bro, you're gonna get us on the list." But Tyler's already locked in, scrolling through a site that honestly looked like it was made on Windows 95. The background was just a plain black page with neon green text. No graphics, no logos, just a list of links. He clicks one that says, "Unaired pilots, archived and salvaged footage." Already sketchy, right? But we were in that kinda dumb, this is probably fake, but let's check it out anyway, mood. Most of the stuff there was unwatchable. Broken links, corrupted files, names like Clown World Test Reel or Rugrats Lost Scene VHS. We thought it was all just edgy pasta bait. But then there was this one, House of Hunger, Pitch Pilot, 1996, do not re-upload. No views, no downloads, but the file size was just under 400 megabytes. It had this grainy thumbnail that looked like a living room straight out of Full House, but way darker. Something felt off about it, like the image had been tampered with. The faces were all blurred, but not like from low quality, like someone intentionally smudged them out. Tyler downloaded it. I told him not to. He did it anyway. The video started normally, like almost too normal. There was this cheesy synth music playing and a voiceover like, "Welcome to the House of Hunger, where the brave compete for food, fortune, and freedom." It felt like it was trying to copy Fear Factor, but way earlier than Fear Factor even existed. 6 contestants, all in their early 20s, were sitting around this dinner table. Their names flashed across the screen like an intro: Kelly, Brandon, Tanya, etc. Just very basic stuff. But there was no mention of where this was being filmed. No network, no production credits, just white text on a black background. They were all smiling and laughing like it was some regular reality show. There were some challenges too. Eating bugs, blindfolded obstacle courses, one where they had to guess what kind of meat was being served, which was gross, but whatever. But here's the weird part. About 18 minutes in, the tone completely shifted. There was no music. The camera angles got staticky and jittery. One contestant, Kelly, started crying during a challenge where she was in a room full of mannequins. She kept saying, "He's in here. He's in here with me." But no one else reacted. No producers stepped in. It just kept rolling. Then at 21:44, the camera cut to static. Full-on snow, like an old TV losing signal, for about 45 seconds. When the feed came back, Tanya was gone. Like, not mentioned, not in the background, just gone. And the rest of the contestants, they acted like she never existed. We scrubbed back. Tanya was there at the start, had lines, was in 2 challenges, but now, in the second half, they were using the same couch, same seating arrangement, and her spot was just empty. It didn't feel like an editing mistake. It felt intentional, like they erased her. At this point, me and Tyler were like, okay, this is creepy, but still maybe just a messed up ARG or something. But then at 29:13, something happened that made my stomach drop. The screen went black, just for a second, and then white text appeared. "Tyler, stop watching." Dead serious. We thought it was part of the video, right? But Tyler paused it, and the message stayed on screen. He skipped ahead. It was still there, like it burned into the file. Then the whole computer started acting up. Mouse was glitching, audio spiking. His webcam turned on for half a second. We both saw the little green light flick on, then off again. He didn't even have a webcam program running. And then, just like that, the file closed. We looked at each other, both pale as hell. I could tell Tyler was trying to laugh it off. Like, haha man, what the hell was that? But his hands were shaking. I could see it. We checked the folder. The video was gone, not even in the recycle bin. Vanished. He ran a deep scan. Nothing. No traces. I left not long after that. Didn't sleep at all that night. Just kept refreshing my own webcam light, making sure it wasn't turning on. But here's where it got worse. 2 days later, Tyler stopped responding. Not ghosting. Not just off-grid. I mean everything. Snapchat off. Instagram deleted. His Steam account just said, last online 2 days ago. I went to his place. Empty. No sign of struggle. All his stuff was there. PC, clothes, wallet, phone. But he was gone. I reported him missing. The cops checked his apartment, even took his hard drive. But here's what they told me. There was no record of the file, not even hidden fragments. And his browser history, clean. like he'd never opened Tor. That was 6 months ago, but here's why I'm writing this now. Last week, I got an email. No subject, no sender, just one sentence. You watched too long. We're already filming, and attached was a thumbnail. It was a still frame, low res, like a paused VHS tape. It was me, sitting in my living room, watching the screen, and next to me, in the corner of the shot, was Tyler, smiling. The thumbnail sat in my inbox for days. I couldn't delete it. Every time I tried, my email would freeze for a second, then the tab would crash. When I finally took a screenshot of it, just to prove to myself it was real, the file name saved automatically as stillwatching.jpg. I swear to you, I didn't name it that. I stopped using my laptop altogether after that, switched to an old Chromebook, started doing my work from coffee shops. I avoided anything with a webcam, stayed logged out of every account, and used burner phones for everything. But the thumbnail, I printed it out. I don't even know why. Maybe to feel like it was just a picture, but the longer I stared at it, the more I noticed something wrong. It wasn't just Tyler smiling in the background. His mouth was open, too open. His teeth were wrong. I know that sounds like a weird detail, but his teeth were always kinda crooked, with one incisor that overlapped. In the image, his mouth looked perfect, symmetrical, like someone drew a new face over his real one. And behind him, behind the couch I was sitting on, were hands, not attached to anything, just 5 hands reaching up behind the cushion, pale, fingers spread. One of them was pointing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I turned off all the lights, locked every door twice, and I still felt like someone was watching me from behind my own eyes. So I did the one thing I shouldn't have done. I went back to the dark web. It took me days to find the site again. The original link Tyler used was gone. I even checked old Tor cache archives. Nothing. No mirrors. No forums talking about it. It was like it never existed. But then I got desperate. I joined this hidden Telegram group I found on a Reddit post from 2016. Thread was about forgotten footage from TV stations that were supposedly paid off to bury projects. It was filled with horror nerds, ARG fans, conspiracy theorists, and genuine psychos who traded creepy media like it was Pokemon cards. I dropped a message with a blurry, low-res edit of the pilot's thumbnail. I didn't mention the name of the show. Just said, "Anyone seen this?" Within an hour, I got a private reply. A user with no avatar, no name, just a long string of numbers. He sent me a zip file, 1.7 gigabytes. The file was named House of Hunger, full pitch, found real, 2.mp4. I don't know why I opened it. I knew it would be the worst mistake I've ever made, but I couldn't stop myself. The footage starts mid-sentence. No intro music, no narrator. The screen is pitch black, but the audio is crystal clear. You hear someone breathing, like heavy, panicked breathing, running. Then, thud, a scream, then silence. The video fades in. It's inside what looks like a cheap studio set of a suburban house, same as the original pilot. But this time, the walls are smeared, not with blood, at least not fresh. It's that old dried stuff, brown red, flaky. The camera is handheld now, shaky, like someone's walking through the house with it, recording behind the scenes footage that was never supposed to be seen. The cameraman opens a door. There's a girl tied to a kitchen chair, hands behind her back, bag over her head. She's breathing fast. You can hear her sobbing through the duct tape. Someone, off-screen, says, "What's your number?" The girl doesn't answer, so the voice says it again, louder. "What's your number?" She whimpers something. 3. I'm 3. Then the screen cuts to a different scene entirely. This time, it's the dinner table again. But it's not like before. The contestants are still there, but they look dead behind their eyes. They're not speaking, not blinking, just staring straight into the camera. The host enters the room. He's wearing a suit now, red velvet like a magician at a low-budget Vegas show. His face is completely smooth. No nose, no ears, just 2 black holes where his eyes should be. Mouth sewn shut, but he still speaks, clear as day. "Welcome back, housemates. Are you ready for your next serving?" He snaps his fingers. The dinner table starts to shake. The plates rattle. And then, from a hidden panel in the wall, a long metal tray slides out. On the tray was something wrapped in newspaper. The camera zooms in. It's a human hand, still twitching. One of the contestants, a guy who looked maybe 19, just starts sobbing. He reaches down with a shaking hand and takes a bite of the hand like it's a turkey leg, chomping through skin and cartilage while tears stream down his face. Another contestant, a girl in her 20s, starts laughing hysterically, like full-on breakdown. She slams her head into the table so hard it cracks. Blood splashes the lens. And the host? He just claps. Slow, rhythmic, delicious. Now, next course. Confession. The screen glitches again. Next scene. A grainy security cam feed. Black and white. Date in the corner says August 15th, 1996. It's a basement. Concrete floor. Water dripping somewhere off screen. The camera's focused on a steel gurney in the middle of the room. Tyler is on the gurney, alive, stripped down to his boxes, eyes darting around like a terrified animal. His mouth is moving, but there's no sound, just subtitles burned into the footage. I didn't want to keep watching. I told him to delete it. Please don't show this part. Then he starts crying. He says, "I know who they are now. They weren't contestants. They were taken. Just like me. Just like the others." A shadow crosses the screen. Then the footage ends. I jumped back in my chair, nearly fell out of it. Heart going 1,000 beats a minute. I slammed the laptop shut. I was done. I backed up all my files, packed a bag, and got in my car. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed to be far away from anything connected to the internet. I stayed in a cheap motel 2 towns over. No Wi-Fi, no TV, just old paperback books and a lock on the door. The second night, I heard someone knock. Not at the door, at the window. Second floor, 3 a.m. When I looked out, I saw nothing. But in the morning, scrawled into the dirt on my windshield, was this: Episode 3 begins now. This isn't a show, it's a ritual. I think the pilot was just a lure, a trap, a sick gateway drug to something way darker, way older. I went back to the Telegram group. I tried to message the guy who sent me the file. His account was gone. Every single message from him had been replaced with 3 words: feed the film. And then I got a call. No number, just the word unknown. I didn't answer at first, but it called again and again. Finally I picked up. No voice, just that same breathing from the video. And then, confess your number. Click. Deadline. I don't know what it means, but I'm scared to sleep, scared to go back home. Every reflection I see, mirrors, windows, puddles, I keep thinking I'll see him. Tyler, smiling, It's hard to write this, not because it's painful, though it is, but because something keeps trying to stop me. My keyboard freezes, files get corrupted. One time, my monitor turned off mid-sentence and wouldn't turn back on for an hour. When it finally lit back up, a single word was typed across the screen: silence. So now I write this on paper first, in the dark, in silence. Then I type it all at once, because I can feel it crawling closer. The show, the house, whatever it is, it doesn't want to be remembered, but it feeds off being watched. Let me take you back to 2 nights after I saw the footage of Tyler strapped to that gurney. I hadn't slept. My motel smelled like mold and bleach. Everything inside felt wet, like the walls were sweating. There was this old microwave in the corner, and I swear to you, every time I turned it on, I'd hear whispering under the hum. Fast, layered voices, like 1,000 conversations, all happening inside the static. I didn't have a computer anymore. I smashed it after the confess your number call, but I kept the thumbnail photo printed in my wallet. That was mistake number 1, because one night I took it out at a diner just to look like an idiot. There were only 2 other people there, a woman with a stroller and some trucker guy nodding off in a booth. I unfolded the picture. The cashier saw it from behind the counter. She froze, and I'll never forget what she said. Her voice dropped to this flat, empty tone, like she wasn't speaking from herself anymore. You weren't supposed to keep that. Then she collapsed. No twitching, no sound. Just fell behind the counter like someone cut her strings. The baby in the stroller started crying. I ran, left my wallet, the food, everything, just ran into the night. I stayed hidden for weeks after that, hopping Airbnbs, avoiding anything with cameras, but the show kept finding me. Sometimes the static would play through real TVS. At a Starbucks in Chicago, I looked up at the sports channel and saw it glitch for half a second, just long enough for me to see the dining room set. Only this time, my face was in the background, sitting at the table, eating. I snapped. I needed answers, real ones, not just freaky footage and haunted emails. I started searching deep, not through the dark web, but in real life. There were rumors online, a few conspiracy threads, some whispering about the Feeder Project. I found a map posted anonymously on an old conspiracy Discord channel. It showed pins all over the US, mostly around abandoned TV stations, off-grid towns, and strange closed-down fast food chains. Weirdly specific ones, like a McDonald's in Kenosha that closed in 1997 with no explanation, or a Taco Bell in Arizona that had its drive-thru bricked up overnight. But one pin stood out: a warehouse in Milwaukee. Originally a news station in the late 80s, Channel 14. The building had burned down in 97, supposedly from faulty wiring, but a Reddit user claimed to have seen movement inside as recently as 2021. I rented a car and drove. The warehouse looked like something out of a forgotten war zone. Rusted sheet metal, broken floodlights, a no trespassing sign that had clearly been scratched over with fingernails, not tools. But the door was open, not broken in, just open, like it was waiting. I stepped inside with a flashlight. The second my foot hit the tile, I heard something above me, a laugh track, soft, distant, like from a sitcom, but warped, twisted, as if someone had recorded it underwater, slowed it down, then played it back through a speaker buried in flesh. The The walls were covered in peeling posters, old shows, but not ones anyone's heard of. Titles like The Feed Must Go On, Season 0, The First Family, cameras still rolling. Then I found the hallway, a long narrow corridor that felt too narrow, claustrophobic. As I walked down it, the lights flickered overhead. It wasn't random, it was rhythmic, a pattern, almost like Morse code. I filmed it with my phone, uploaded it later to a hidden server a friend of mine runs. He called me back 3 hours later. Dude, it's not Morse, it's numbers. Your number. The hallway ended in a steel door with a keypad. No labels, no instructions, but I knew what to type. I don't know how. I just knew. I typed my number. 3. The door opened, and what I saw, I wish I could burn it out of my eyes. It wasn't a room, it was a set. Cameras were mounted everywhere, embedded into the walls, the ceiling, even inside the floor tiles. The room looked like a cross between a 90s kitchen and a surgical suite. Everything gleamed unnaturally clean, but it all smelled like copper, rust, and blood. On the far wall, a mirror, but not a normal mirror. It showed me, but not me. My reflection blinked twice, when I only blinked once. It moved before I did, like it was controlling me. I got closer, and then it opened its mouth. I didn't, but it did. And I swear to you, Tyler's voice came out. We never left. We just became the next season. Then the mirror shattered. From behind the shards, hands came through. Long, pale, stretched like wet paper, dragging themselves into the room. No faces, no sound, just hands crawling on their knuckles like spiders. I ran, but not before seeing what was behind them. A wall of screens, each one showing a different contestant. Some looked familiar. I swear I saw that trucker from the diner, a girl from my college dorm, one that looked just like the guy who installed my internet last year. All watching, all eating, all slowly turning their heads toward the camera. I blacked out outside the building, woke up the next morning on the sidewalk. No scratches, no injuries, just a new note in my pocket. It was burned into the paper. You're next. Get hungry. Since then, things have been changing. When I pass TVs in public, they blink when I walk by. Sometimes in YouTube ads, I'll hear a whisper layered into the background. 3, 3, 3. My phone randomly plays a laugh track, always the same one. And worst of all, people I know are disappearing, not all at once, quietly. My cousin in Utah, gone. Her Instagram replaced with cooking videos she never made. Her face, stiff, robotic. My old coworker just had a baby, but in the picture he posted, the baby had no eyes, just smooth skin. No one noticed but me. The House of Hunger isn't a show. It's a machine, a living broadcast, an organism that digests people, replays them, then recasts their lives like reruns of a series we never asked to watch. Once you're seen by the cameras, it knows your number. It doesn't need permission, because we are the programming now. You don't watch the show watches you. If you're still here, if you made it this far, don't look at your reflection. And if your TV turns on by itself tonight, do not change the channel. Let it play. Let it feed, or it will come feed on you. Let me tell you the truth. The world you're living in, it's not real anymore. Not fully. And you'll feel it too, eventually. A flicker in your screen, a delay in your reflection, a laugh track that plays when no one's laughing. You'll feel the feed pulling at your bones like fishhooks, Because once you've seen the show, the house never lets go. It's been 3 weeks since Milwaukee. I'm somewhere in West Virginia now. Rented a trailer off a guy who only accepts cash and won't ask questions. It sits in the woods, half sunken into the mud. No service, no neighbors, no technology, except a battery-powered flashlight and an old radio. The first night here, I burned everything. The printout photo, the hard drives, the laptop fragments, even my clothes. Didn't matter. It found me again. The radio turned on at 2:47 a.m. by itself. No static at first, just a heartbeat. Slow, deep, almost wet sounding, like it was recorded inside a chest cavity. Then came the voice. Low, gravelly, broken up like a corrupted MP3. Viewer, 3. I froze. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. That voice wasn't speaking at me. It was speaking through me. My own mouth was twitching, mimicking it without my permission, like a puppet made of nerves and regret. You're ready for your episode, aren't you? The heartbeat turned into laughter, but not human laughter. This was meat laughing, raw, tearing, sloppy laughter, like someone chewing into a throat and finding it funny. The flashlight flickered, and outside the trailer, something was pacing. No footsteps, no leaves crunching, just a dragging sound, like flesh on bark. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the bathtub with a knife, and I counted the seconds out loud to prove I still could. From 1 to 10,000. Somewhere around 7,100, I started hearing voices counting with me. The next day, I made the worst decision of my life. I turned the radio back on because I needed proof, something I could record, something to show the world I wasn't just rotting alone in a madness cocoon. What I got was a live transmission. It started with music, that same distorted sitcom jingle from the pilot, the House of Hunger theme, warped like a dying carnival organ. Then, tonight's episode, Family Rehearsal, starring you. The voice was different this time, sharper, female, sweet, like a kindergarten teacher, if the kindergarten was built under a slaughterhouse and the kids never left. The radio screen, yes, this ancient thing, somehow had a digital display, flash names, Kelly Tanya, Brandon, then Tyler, then my name, and then the words, cast finalized. I dropped the radio, smashed it. Didn't matter, because the feed doesn't need a broadcast tower. It lives in reflections, signals, memories. Once it knows your number, it can use anything, any device, any surface, any thought. You can't run from the house. You can only play your part. Here's where it gets worse, because I went back online, just for a minute, to check if anyone else was posting about the pilot. Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere. Some random horror YouTubers had started discussing it. Lost 90s reality show footage that's too real. A few people joked about it in comment sections, saying things like, I swear my dreams are in VHS now. My mirror won't stop glitching, LOL. But then they stopped posting. I checked back a few days later. All gone. One of them, a guy named Leo Films on TikTok, actually had a breakdown on camera. I downloaded it before it vanished. In the clip, he's sweating, shaking, staring into his phone, like it's showing him God's autopsy. It's not a show. It's a feeding system. Each view is a bite. Every time you rewatch, it chews a little more. They're making us rewatch ourselves until we dissolve. I saw myself screaming in the credits. I didn't even know I could scream like that. Then he turned the camera around. His wall was covered in pictures of himself, all from angles he never took. Different places, different clothes, but always watching. Then the video cuts out. That TikTok account is now a cooking channel, with his face, smiling, hosting. But the eyes are so very, very wrong. Now, here's the thing I haven't told you yet. What they do to you when you're part of the cast. Because the show doesn't film in studios anymore. It films in looped moments of real pain. It takes your worst fear, the thing that rattled you when you were a kid, the thing that's still somewhere hiding under your ribs, and it builds the episode around that. I found files on a stolen drive from a man I won't talk about, not because I can't, but because he doesn't have a name anymore. His ID was just blank when I found it. Even his passport photo was blacked out. The files were raw recordings, no edits, no music, just episodes. I watched one. It was labeled Episode 208, Teeth. It opens on a dentist's office, but the dentist isn't human. He's wearing human skin, but inside out, like a costume. Lips folded back, no eyes, just gouged black pits dripping something clear. The patient is a woman, early 20s, tied down, but still laughing like she's part of a comedy special. Then the dentist starts removing her teeth, not pulling, scraping, like peeling bark from a tree. He says, she wants to be famous. They all do. Look how well she's performing. The woman screams something I can't type here. Words not in English. Her tongue writhes like a dying eel. Blood foams out her nose. Then the camera turns, and in the reflection of a surgical lamp, you can see the crew. All of them wearing contestant masks, stiff plastic faces with names sharpied across the foreheads. One of them was Tyler. He waved. I watched another. Episode 94, Baby Monitor. A couple is sleeping. You hear the baby crying in the next room, but the monitor keeps glitching. The baby's voice changes, lowers, slows down, then it stops crying and starts whispering. Mummy's awake. Mummy's still bleeding. The parents bolt up, but the baby monitor shows them still lying down. Then, from the closet in the parents' room, something crawls out. The episode ends there. No credits, just that same laugh track. Only now it's over your own speakers. I can't keep running. They've started filming mine. I woke up yesterday to find my ceiling mic'd. Not a big boom mic, a tiny one, hidden in the vent, glued there, still humming. Red light blinking. There's no crew. There's no director. The house is the crew. The house is the camera. Every breath, every twitch, every thought, it records. You don't audition. You're chosen. Last night, I got the final warning. I heard something outside the trailer again. Knocking. 3 knocks. Then a pause. Then the sound of a VHS being inserted. Not a door. Not a lock. Not footsteps. Just the click of a tape. And then, the trailer's window lit up with blue glow. Something was projecting onto it. And it was me, sitting right where I was, writing. Only in the projection, I wasn't typing. I was screaming. And behind me, Tyler again. But this time, he leaned into the camera and whispered, "Last episode. Lights out. Read this again and again, and you'll feel it too. Your reflection will blink wrong. Your audio will stutter. Your screen will buzz. You'll see something in the grain of a YouTube ad. And when you hear it, the laugh track, it means your episode has started. Get hungry. They're almost ready to serve you. There is no end to the show. I know that now. I know because I saw the credits roll. I saw them crawl across the inside of my eyelids like maggots. Names spelled backward, misspelled, burned in reverse across skin like branding on cattle. And one of those names was mine. Full name, middle name too. And underneath it, the words, recurring role. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. Let me take you where they took me. After the VHS projection on my trailer window, I passed out. Not from fear, from whatever they put in me, because I woke up somewhere else. No trailer, no forest, just a single, freezing metal chair in the middle of a concrete room that smelled like ozone, copper, and wet fabric. The kind of stink you can't ever really describe, but your lizard brain knows it. The kind of smell that makes your gums ache. There were no doors, no windows, no sound, just static, not playing through speakers, breathing it. I was breathing in static. Every inhale tasted like wet TV fuzz. Every exhale echoed back into my ears as someone else's voice. And then the lights came on. Floodlights. Everywhere. Except they weren't lights. They were eyes. Dozens of them. Human eyes. Bulging, darting, stitched into the walls, pulsing with veins that ran deep into the cement like roots. And from somewhere behind them, I heard it. The voice that's haunted every breath since. Welcome back, contestant. They dragged me out. I say they, but I never saw their faces. Just arms, too many elbows, too many knuckles, gray slick skin that glistened like meat left in a freezer too long. Fingers that didn't grab me. They sank into me, like I was made of wax. They brought me to a set, just like the one from the pilot. Same fake living room, same checkered couch, same dinner table, same half-lit kitchen in the background with the fake fridge and the buzzing oven that was always warm but never opened. Only this time, it wasn't fake. This time, it smelled like someone had cooked something alive in there and left the bones behind the camera. There were people on the couch, 4 of them, eyes wide, mouths sewn shut, but not with thread, with hair, their own hair, twisted and braided into their gums, yanked up into the roof of their mouths like marionette strings. They didn't speak. They shook. One of them was wearing my college hoodie. The other had my mother's necklace. Another looked just like the TikToker that posted the glitch video before his account went family friendly. And the last one was me. Not like me. Me. Same scar on the chin from that fall off the bike in 2006. Same mole on the neck. Same chipped incisor. He smiled, but his teeth were TV screens, each one playing a different moment from my life. Me brushing my teeth, me kissing my first girlfriend, me sitting on the toilet at 14 crying into my hands after seeing my dad hit my mom. The mouth opened wider. The laughter began. They brought out the camera. Not a regular camera. It looked like something grown, not built. It had muscle, veins. You could see it breathing. It locked onto me. A red dot appeared on my chest, and the host came out, the same one from the pilot, but he had no face anymore, just an old, dusty CRT monitor where a head should be. Fuzzy screen. Every once in a while, a flash of Tyler's face, then mine, then yours. The voice came from the static. Tonight's final course, self-consumption. Starring you. They forced me into a chair at the dinner table. Laid out in front of me were 5 plates. Each plate had something on it that I knew. One had my old baby teeth, arranged like pasta shells. dripping with some black oil that smelled like memories rotting. One had the bones of a dog I buried as a kid. Same collar, still soaked in mud. One had strips of notebook paper, half burned, with pieces of my childhood diary, still wet with tears and blood. I never bled on them, not once. Where did the blood come from? The fourth plate was empty, but the fifth, it had a knife and a note. Feed yourself, or be fed. I reached for the knife. My hand was shaking so bad I dropped it. Laughter echoed. Again, not from speakers, from the walls, like the cement itself had learned comedy. I looked up at the TV-headed host. The screen flickered to show me, watching myself, split-screened. One half of the screen showed me in real time. The other half showed me 2 minutes in the future. In that half, I was screaming, slamming the table, bleeding from my eyes, but I was smiling. I tried to run. The lights dimmed. Every exit vanished. Instead, the floor opened like a throat, not metaphorically. It rippled, peeled, and gaped open like a living wound, revealing a staircase made of old remotes, broken DVD cases, and human ribs twisted into steps. I fell, hard, down into the editing room. You ever wondered how they edit the episodes? They don't use software. They cut them, literally. In this room, I saw rows of hanging skins, each one with faces pressed into them, all mid-scream, all trying to blink, but there were no eyes left, only static flickering in the sockets. And in the center of the room, a machine. It looked like a meat grinder, only instead of blades, it had VHS tape spools and rusted film reels. One by one, the faces were fed into it, and on the screens above it, live footage of houses, apartments, classrooms, buses, all real places, all real people. You're being watched, not in the paranoid tinfoil hat way, in the literal way. Every mirror that glitches, every screen that flickers for a moment too long. Every second you feel like you forgot something important. That's them, clipping your life into scenes, scripting your trauma, replaying it in the house of hunger. I woke up hours later in a parking garage in Ohio. My fingernails were gone. My mouth tasted like tape glue, and there was a VHS cassette duct taped to my chest with a note. Thank you for your audition. You've been cast permanently. Since then, I've noticed things. In people, they're smiling more. Too much. Their teeth are always perfect. Too perfect. All the same size. All angled the same way, like television static, with enamel. One barista at a Starbucks leaned close to me and whispered, "Episode 666 is gonna be your best work yet." Then he blinked with no eyelids, just static. I tried smashing TVS, breaking phones, wearing blindfolds. Doesn't matter. The show plays in memory now. Sometimes I'll hear my mom humming, only she's been dead for years. Sometimes I'll smell microwave popcorn and feel sick to my stomach, because I remember watching cartoons as a kid, while my uncle, doesn't matter, the house remembered. And now you've read this, so let me give you the only piece of advice I have left. Never rewind. If the TV flickers, let it. If your screen freezes on a still frame of yourself, do not look away until it passes. And if you hear your own voice, whisper, confess your number. Don't answer. That's how they get you to sit down at the table. That's how they bring out the knives. I'm leaving this message printed, hidden in places they won't check. In the bottom of red box DVD cases, in old hotel Bibles, in the back of cursed VHS tapes, in thrift shops across the Midwest. If you find one, run. but not too far, because the camera's already rolling. The House of Hunger is proud to present our final cast member, Viewer 4. Welcome to the dinner table. We saved the best episode for last, starring you, now small. The static's hungry, and it's always time to eat. They rewired my brain in a dark web neural experiment. I can't stop thinking about hurting people. I've rewritten this like 8 times. I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore. There's this pressure in my head. Not pain, just pressure. Like something's pushing against the inside of my skull and waiting for me to let go. It's been there for weeks. I thought it was stress, lack of sleep, maybe caffeine withdrawal. But now I'm not so sure. I'm not trying to get attention. I don't care if anyone reads this. I just need to say it before it eats the last bit of me that still feels real. Something happened to me. It was online, but not just online, like Reddit or YouTube or whatever. It was underneath that. Somewhere I never should have gone. Somewhere that doesn't even feel like the internet anymore. Like it was pretending to be part of it, but it wasn't. And I don't think it's over. I think it changed me. Like physically, mentally. Whatever me is, it doesn't feel like it belongs to me anymore. I'm scared I waited too long to talk about it. Like I already missed the part where I could have escaped. Like I'm just documenting the downfall at this point. I'm not gonna waste your time. It started with something simple. A message. A name I didn't recognize. And a file I never should have opened. So I'm 22. College dropout. Yeah, I know. And I've always been one of those tech nerds who's way too curious for his own good. I used to be big on Discord communities, Reddit threads, underground tech forums, you name it. Basically, if it involved computers and had a bunch of unhinged weirdos talking in code or broken English, I was probably lurking there at 3 a.m. with a Monster can in my hand and an open bag of Takis on my desk. It all started when I joined this obscure Discord server called Neurodepths. I wasn't even supposed to be in there. I got invited through some random dude I met in a subreddit called r/tech underworld. He had this weird username like quantivm.god.exe or something equally dramatic. But what caught my attention was this message he sent me. You ever wonder what it feels like to have your thoughts reprogrammed? Now, I thought he meant like brainwashing videos on YouTube or some dumb self-hypnosis stuff. But I was curious and bored, so I responded, like a cult thing or AI related? Dude just sent me a Discord invite. No explanation. Just a link and the words, if you join, don't talk unless they talk to you first. Don't ask dumb questions, and don't click anything unless it's green. Weird, but I was hooked. The server. So I joined, and bro, it was the most minimalist server I've ever seen. No memes, no emojis, just a black profile picture for the server icon and 4 channels. $, input dash, logs, $, neuro dash, data, dash, drops, $, observation, dash, threads, $, green link, dash, access. Everything else was locked. There were maybe 6 or 7 people online. No one talked. But what was really weird was the content. The hashtag input logs channel looked like someone was copy-pasting actual transcripts from therapy sessions, but darker. Stuff like, Subject 004 no longer reacts to animal suffering, displays emotional detachment, in 90% of social interactions. Subject 006 experienced elevated dopamine release after simulated act of violence. Neural stability remains intact. At this point, I was thinking, okay, this has to be ARG stuff, right? Some kind of viral storytelling experiment. People LARPing as scientists doing brain experiments on test subjects. Still, something about the specificity of the data made my stomach turn, like they weren't trying to entertain. It was cold, clinical. The green link, about a week after lurking, I never posted, just watched. A new message popped up in the hashtag greenlink-access channel. It was the first post in days, just a single green hyperlink, neurodepths.infra.red/whoosh vol 7-interface-beta.exe. It was from someone with the username Operator Null. Their profile picture was just a red eye on a black background, and their status said, conducting remote stimulus testing. Against my better judgment, I downloaded it. Yup, dumb, I know. But like I said, I was curious. The file was only 1.2 megabytes. It didn't trigger any virus warnings. And when I opened it, all I saw was a black window with a message. Confirm remote neural mapping. YES or NO. I hovered for a second. Then I clicked YES like a freaking idiot. The glitch. That's when things got weird. My monitor went black for a second. Then it flickered. And then everyone looked the same, but the fonts on my desktop were slightly off. Like the E in recycle bin was just a little too curved. I don't even know how to explain it, man. It's like reality got tweaked. I remember laughing it off, thinking, cool, they got me. Some funny little prankware. But then the headache hit. It wasn't normal. It started behind my eyes, like something was pressing outward from the inside of my skull. Then came the nosebleed, just out of nowhere. Blood dripping onto my keyboard like I was in a damn horror movie. I turned off my PC, went to the bathroom, cleaned up. That night, I dreamed I was in a white room with no walls. I could feel people watching me, but there was no one there. The only sound was this low-frequency buzzing, like a broken speaker humming in the distance. When I woke up, I couldn't remember how I got into bed. The thoughts, this is where it gets worse. The next day, I was at a Starbucks with my friend Nate. We were just chilling, scrolling through TikTok, talking about that dumb giant man in the mountains conspiracy. You know the one. Then Nate says something like, yo, imagine if we were in a simulation and none of this was real. And something in my brain just snapped. I looked at him, and for a solid 5 seconds, I swear to God, I didn't see Nate. I saw something else. Something broken, like a dissected version of him. His skin looked too thin, his eyes looked glossy, like he wasn't really there. And this thought popped into my head. I wonder what would happen if I stabbed him in the neck right now. I shook it off immediately, but the image stayed. I couldn't stop thinking about it. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, the thoughts have gotten worse. I see people, strangers, friends, even my own mom, and my brain keeps creating these violent flash visions of me hurting them, like something's trying to train me. And the worst part? There's a voice. Not like, go kill people type stuff. It's subtle, almost like an AI tutorial voice, in my own thoughts, narrating reactions, testing outcomes, suggesting next steps. Last night, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I swear, for a second, My reflection blinked before I did. I don't know what the hell that program did to me. I don't know if it's some kind of subliminal conditioning or neural hacking, or if my brain is just broken now. All I know is I'm not me anymore, and I think they're still watching. Every now and then, when I plug in my phone to charge, I see a green dot in the top right corner. It flickers, even when no apps are running. I smashed my webcam. I haven't been back on Discord, but I think they're already inside. I used to believe that your mind was the last place you had complete control. Like, no matter what happened in the real world, bills, school, drama, even death, at least your thoughts were yours. Private, sacred. But that idea is a lie. After I ran that program, something broke in me. Like my brain got unscrewed and someone started pulling out wires, replacing them with their own. Not all at once. Slowly, quietly, like rot under floorboards. You don't notice it until your foot goes through, and then it's too late. It started 3 days after the Starbucks thing. I was sitting on my bed, trying to distract myself. I had Spotify running. My phone brightness was down low because I was starting to get light sensitivity. Like everything digital had this vibration to it now. I don't know how else to describe it. Lights in my apartment didn't feel like lights anymore. They felt like they were pulsing, syncing with something deeper, like there was a rhythm beneath reality, and only I could hear it. I was scrolling through Instagram Reels when I saw something that didn't belong. It was a video of me, like, filmed from my bedroom window. Me, on my bed, in real time. But I wasn't holding my phone. I was just staring at the wall, not blinking. The caption said, Subject 009, Alignment Phase 2 in progress. External stimulation, not required. It vanished before I could screenshot it. My phone went black and restarted. When it powered back on, Instagram was gone. Deleted. Not uninstalled. Completely erased. Like it had never been there. I sprinted to the window. No one was outside. But I knew someone had been. Or something. Because I never sat like that. That wasn't me. And the worst part, I remembered none of it. That night, I woke up at 2:37 a.m. to the sound of someone whispering in the hallway. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment. No pets, no roommates. My family's 4 states away. The whispering was directly outside my door. It wasn't in English. It was this guttural, rhythmic language. Fast, clipped syllables. Almost like a glitched-out Siri speaking backwards. But every now and then, it'd say a word I understood. Words like inject, sever, duplicate, calibrate. I froze. My body wouldn't move. Not sleep paralysis. Something worse. I was awake, just not allowed to move. My fingers twitched like someone else was testing them out, like a child trying on their dad's shoes. I could feel the control wasn't mine anymore. I laid there for 5 full minutes, sweat soaking through my shirt, my eyes wide open. The whispering stopped, and then the door opened, not creaked, not cracked. It opened, and something walked in. I couldn't see it clearly. It was a silhouette, almost blurry, like it wasn't fully in sync with this world. You know those TikToks where people mess with analog horror filters and things start phasing in and out of reality? That's what it looked like. It stood at the foot of my bed, staring. It didn't have eyes, just a mirror where a face should have been. And for some reason, I knew that was me, or what they were turning me into. It reached out and touched my forehead, cold, like metal soaked in ice water. Then I blacked out. When I woke up, I was standing in my bathroom. The lights were off. My phone was still on the bed, buzzing with dozens of missed calls from Nate. My hands were wet and red. I looked down. Blood, but not mine. I opened the sink drawer. Inside was a paring knife. Clean. Too clean. I stumbled into the kitchen. On the table was a sheet of printer paper. No envelope. Just a message, printed in bold Arial font. Congratulations. Subject 009. Mirroring response. Functional. Next phase. In 72 hours. Avoid outside contact. There was no name, no sender. I looked out the window. Across the street was an abandoned storefront that used to be a vape shop. It had been boarded up for years. But now, someone had painted something on the front glass in massive white letters. You're not supposed to know. I tried to call Nate, but the number was dead, like it didn't exist. I drove to his apartment. His car was in the lot. His lights were on, but no one answered the door. So I did something I regret. I broke in. His place was too clean. No clutter, no dishes, no laundry, no smell. Not lived in. Like someone scrubbed every trace of him away. On his coffee table was a sticky note with my name on it. Just one word. Run. That's when I realized something that made my stomach drop into my ankles. There were no pictures of Nate in the apartment. No photos. No IDs. No mail. It was like he'd never existed. And I started thinking, maybe he didn't. Or maybe he was me. Just a version of me they already tested on. A failed mirror. A glitch in the simulation. Or maybe they were erasing the people around me, one by one, until I was the only thing left to test. That night, I did something I swore I'd never do again. I reopened the program. Yeah, I know, but I needed answers. I needed to see if I could undo whatever was happening to me. When I clicked it, there was no menu this time, just a full screen stream, live footage of me, except I wasn't alone. In the video, I was tied to a chair. My eyes were forced open with metal clamps. Wires were drilled into my skull, leaking this clear fluid onto my neck. Standing behind me were 3 figures in hospital gowns. No faces, just static where their heads should be. The timestamp on the stream, 7 minutes from now. I ripped the Ethernet cable out, shut off the power, yanked the battery from my PC. But 7 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. 3 knocks, slow, hollow, then silence, and then whispering. Right outside again, that same broken language. I grabbed the paring knife from the bathroom, backed into the kitchen, every light off, every curtain drawn. I don't even remember breathing. I just remember the sound of my heartbeat filling my ears like a war drum. Suddenly, the bathroom light turned on by itself, and I heard a voice, my voice, from inside the bathroom. It said, "Don't make this harder than it has to be. We just need to finish sinking." At that point, something in me broke, or maybe something clicked. I don't know. I ran. I left the apartment barefoot, bloody, knife in hand, sprinting into the streets like a maniac. I didn't even lock the door. I ran past the boarded vape shop, past the McDonald's on 5th, where I used to work, past the weird statue in front of the library that I always thought looked off, and now, somehow, looked like me. I only stopped running when I reached the edge of town. Now I'm holed up in a motel room in the middle of nowhere. I paid cash. No ID. I smashed my phone and flushed the pieces. But every time I closed my eyes, I see that chair, that mirror, that version of me they're building. And the worst part, I think it's working. I can't stop thinking about that knife. Not like I want to use it. More like I already did, but I can't remember. Only feel it. In my bones. In my teeth. Like muscle memory for a song I never learned. Like someone else played it through me. And now I'm just waiting for the next verse. If anyone reads this, stay offline. Don't trust anyone who messages you out of nowhere. Don't download anything, not even from people you think you know. And if you ever get invited to a server called Neurodepths, run, because they're not looking for volunteers. They're building replacements, and I think they're already using mine. I thought leaving the apartment, going off-grid, breaking every piece of tech I owned, would buy me time. I was wrong. All I did was isolate myself. Exactly what they wanted. Like trimming fat off a wire before it sparks. I was making myself clean. Ready. Like a rat crawling into its own trap. I stayed in that motel room for 3 days. The motel was straight out of a horror film. Flickering sign with 3 letters burnt out. Parking lot full of cracked pavement and rusted out Fords. Room smelled like mildew and old toothpaste. Walls were paper thin. The guy at the front desk had this empty smile, like he'd been taxidermied and propped behind the counter. But I needed to be invisible. And places like this don't ask for ID. I locked the door with a chair against it. Slept with a knife on my chest. Watched the peephole until my eyes dried out. I kept the TV off. The lights too. Didn't want anything reflective near me. Because the mirror version of me, I started seeing him. First time was in the bathroom mirror. I was brushing my teeth, eyes sunken in from not sleeping. And for a second, just 1 second, the guy in the reflection didn't move when I did. Like I turned my head to spit, and he didn't. He just stared back at me with this twitching smile that looked stapled onto his face. His eyes were too wide, no blinking. His skin didn't move, like it wasn't alive, just animated. I punched the mirror, cut my knuckles open. I didn't even feel it. I just stood there, blood running down my hand, glass in the sink, staring into the jagged cracks. He wasn't there anymore, just me. But something in my head whispered, he's closer now. He knows you're ready. By day 2, I stopped eating. Everything tasted off, like cardboard dipped in copper. I tried drinking water from the sink and ended up puking foam. My mouth wouldn't stop tasting like plastic. I checked the back of my neck. There were 3 small dots, like injection points, not scabs, not pimples, little holes, barely visible, but deep. Pressing on them made my vision shimmer, like heat waves on asphalt. I picked at one with a safety pin and felt a spark, like electricity, like I hit a live wire under my skin. I screamed so loud, the room next door started banging on the wall, but no one came. No motel staff, no cops, just banging. Then silence, then a whisper under my bed. Don't try to remove what's already rooted. That night I blacked out again. This time, I remember starting the night, lying in bed, knife in hand, lights off, every sound echoing like I was trapped in a fishbowl. But when I came to, I wasn't in the bed anymore. I was in the parking lot, barefoot, knees scraped, hands covered in this black, oily sludge that didn't smell like oil. It smelled like rotting meat left in a microwave. And in front of me, one of the motel guests, face down, motionless, blood seeping under his body, like it was being poured from inside. His neck was twisted too far, not snapped, unscrewed. I didn't remember doing it. I didn't even know who he was. But I looked at my hands, and I felt it. Not guilt, not fear, familiarity. Like it wasn't the first time. There was a key card in his pocket. Room 107. I went in. The whole room was set up like a lab, not like a meth head science project. I mean clean, surgical. Walls lined with equipment that didn't belong in a motel. Wires hanging from the ceiling. A laptop with a military-style hard case. On the bed, there was a roll of used gauze and a stack of manila folders, each labeled with names and 4-digit codes. And one of them said 009, progressing. Inside were photos of me, dozens, taken from different angles. My apartment, Starbucks, walking into McDonald's, shots of me asleep, one of me in the shower, all time-stamped, all organized. At the bottom of the folder, stapled to the corner, was a document titled Split Phase, Execution, Replacing Biological Self with Predictive Neural Copy. The last line was highlighted. When subject begins questioning which version is real, mirroring is complete. That broke me. I left the room. I ran into the woods behind the motel. Don't know how long I ran. Could have been hours. I just know I ended up on the edge of some construction site. Empty equipment, silent cranes, orange cones pushed over like someone had rushed out mid-project. There was a porta potty with its door open, and on the inside wall, someone had carved, "They use your thoughts to build you." And below it, in red marker, "You're not the first. You won't be the last." I slept in a drainage pipe that night. I didn't dream. Not normal ones anyway. Just images. The same blinking eye, wide open, staring down at me like a goddamn drone hovering in my brain. And in the background, a sound, a ticking, mechanical, constant. Every time I heard it, my fingers twitched. My mouth opened involuntarily, like I was being synced. The next morning, the motel was gone. I swear to God. I ran back to the parking lot, and it was just gravel, overgrown weeds, no sign of a building, like it was never there. But on the ground, right where room 107 would have been, was a box, a metal briefcase, unlocked. Inside, a headset, not VR, not commercial. This thing looked custom, black, angular, wires like veins, small needles on the inside where it would touch your scalp, and a note. Phase 3 is a choice. Accept your evolution, or die in conflict with yourself. I should have smashed it, buried it, set it on fire. But instead, I put it on. I had to know. I don't know how to describe what happened next without sounding insane. The world fell away, not like blacking out, like being pulled apart. I could see every version of myself at once. Me in the apartment, me in Starbucks, me standing over the body of that man at the motel, me in a chair with wires in my skull, smiling, me watching this version of myself, writing this right now, like a spectator behind glass, and in the center of all of it, a voice. You are the result of 1,000 abandoned lives. You are the final model. You have been chosen to replace the fractured world. Then the ticking stopped, and the silence was worse than any sound I've ever heard. I woke up in a field. Sun was rising, birds chirping, like nothing happened, but I knew it did. Because the back of my neck wasn't bleeding, it was stitched shut, and in my pocket was a Starbucks receipt, time-stamped 5 minutes from now. I don't know how much longer I can hold on to this version of myself. The memories don't line up anymore. Time feels soft, elastic. I see people's faces blur when they talk too fast. I hear static in my bones when I stand too still. I don't know if I'm still human, but I know something is coming. And when it arrives, it won't knock. It'll already be inside. There's no more pretending. Not after what happened in that house. Not after what I did. I wish I could lie to myself. Blame the program, the voices, the rewiring. But the truth is, I enjoyed it. I liked watching it happen. The way his mouth opened to scream, but didn't make it in time. The way his eyes stayed open, locked on mine, like he couldn't believe it was me. Like he wasn't sure who I was anymore. Neither am I. After the headset pulled me into that field, something started changing. Not just in my body, but in the world around me. Like I was slipping through the seams of whatever was left of reality. Birds flew backwards. Clouds moved like film being rewound. Street signs would morph when I blinked. Stop. Signs replaced with ones that said, "You've already begun. No one is real here. Catch your shadow before it catches you." My shadow. That was the first real sign Phase 4 had started. I noticed it in the parking lot of a gas station somewhere in Nevada. It was midday. No clouds. Nothing strange. Until I walked past the side of the building and saw my shadow standing still. Not lagging. Not distorted. Frozen. It didn't move with me. It just watched. Its head tilted just slightly. Then it raised its arm. I wasn't moving mine. That's when I knew. I wasn't just being watched anymore. I was being mirrored. They told me I'd know when Phase 4 began. Not in words. Not in some grand message. But I'd feel it. Like a switch behind my eyes flipping from observe to perform. Like my every thought had an echo now. Somewhere out there. Another version of me. Copying my process and adjusting for optimization. Upgraded. Cleaner. Brutal. And if I didn't beat him to the punch, he'd replace me. It happened in a neighborhood outside Albuquerque. Not a sketchy one. A normal place. Playground with faded yellow slides. A Starbucks tucked between a laundromat and a Chase bank. And those dumb cul-de-sacs with 2-story houses that all looked the same, like they were printed out. I followed a sound there. A pinging. Not in my ears. In my teeth. Like a sonar. Every time it pulsed, I knew I was getting closer to him. To the duplicate. I didn't find him. He found me. I walked into a house that looked empty. Garage open, lights off, curtains drawn. A beat-up Honda out front with "Jesus Saves" on the bumper, half torn off. The front door wasn't locked. Inside smelled like burnt plastic and raw chicken. Living room was normal. But every photo on the wall, they were all my face. Posed with kids. With a woman I didn't recognize. Sitting at a birthday party. Blowing out candles. I'd never been there in my life. But there I was. Smiling. Wearing clothes I've never owned. Holding a baby that looked like it wasn't really alive. Like a doll trying to be convincing. I went into the kitchen. Found blood. Fresh. Pooling under the fridge. Behind it, a trail. I followed it downstairs. That's where I found the bodies. There were 7. All arranged in chairs. Eyes open. Duct tape over mouths. Some were bloated. Others pale. Some still twitching. Like the signal hadn't quite left their nerves. They were all me. Not metaphorically. They were me. Different hairstyles. Tattoos. Clothes. One had a wedding ring. One had no teeth. But the face. Mine. The skin. The bone. The everything. And behind them, a monitor. showing live footage of a basement. This basement, from the exact angle I was standing in. And there, stepping into frame, was him, the duplicate. Same face, but wrong. Too clean, eyes too sharp, smile too smooth. He waved, then held up a sign. Phase 5 begins when you kill the wrong one. I spun. One of the me's in the chairs looked up, eyes begging. He started shaking his head, trying to scream under the tape. But how could I trust him? They all looked the same. They all were me. But I could only be one. The knife was already in my hand. I didn't remember picking it up. My fingers moved before I could think. I walked up to the first one, looked into his eyes. He looked into mine. I saw tears, saw regret, saw something human. So I moved on. Second one was breathing hard, panicking, legs bouncing like he was trying to bolt. I saw fear, so I moved on. The third one, still, calm, not blinking. I stared at him. He stared at me and smiled. That was the one. That was him. I stabbed him through the neck. He didn't scream, didn't twitch, just bled out. And as the blood ran down, something crawled out from his mouth. A tiny spider-like machine. Wires for legs. A red blinking light on its back. It clicked once, then exploded. I woke up in a hospital. Or what looked like a hospital. Too clean, too quiet. White walls that weren't really walls. They breathed. They moved when I wasn't looking directly at them. The machines didn't beep. They whispered, not in English, just static layered with breathing, like someone panting through a phone line. A doctor entered, no name tag. His face, familiar. It was Nate, but older, aged up, hair grayer, skin tighter. He sat beside me, held a clipboard. Welcome back, subject 009. You're still holding on to the concept of individuality. That's good. We'll correct that soon. I tried to speak. My mouth didn't work. He leaned close. Phase 4 was your trial. Phase 5 will be your execution. I escaped that night. I don't even remember how. I just wasn't there anymore. I think the duplicate took my place. I think he's walking around now, smiling with my face, going to work, drinking coffee, scrolling TikTok, living perfectly, because that's what he was made to do. And me? I'm hiding in the walls now, watching the world through glass, trying to remember which version of me is still left. But I don't feel human anymore. I can hear the clicking in my skull. I see people, and I don't see people. I see codes. I see variables, weaknesses, places to cut, pressure points. I smell their electrical signals, and I want to test them. Every day I hold back, but I can feel it, leaking. The program is waking up, and when it finishes booting, there won't be anything left to hold back. I didn't think I'd make it long enough to write this. Every time I blink, I see flickers, like frames of a movie, from a different life stitched into this one, hidden between the seconds. I don't know if I'm broadcasting this, or if this message is already embedded in your head. I don't even know if writing is what this is anymore. All I know is Phase 5 has started. This is where the program ends. Or maybe where it begins. I woke up in a place that didn't exist. You ever been in a dream so vivid you could smell it? Feel the air pressure in the room? Hear your heartbeat in the walls? That's what they made for me. A simulated reality. A perfect replica of the house I grew up in. Same chip and paint on the bathroom door. Same stain in the carpet where I dropped an entire Slurpee at 14. Same bookshelf filled with books I never read, but always told people I did. Only one thing was off. The photos. They weren't just of me. They were watching me. Eyes in the pictures followed me when I moved, blinked when I looked away. I stared into a framed picture of my 3rd birthday party, and the toddler version of me blinked out of sync with the rest of the frame. I smashed the photo. Blood leaked from the frame. Real blood. Not mine. There was a knock at the front door. Rhythmic. Slow. Knock. 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 Then silence. Then it began again. Knock. 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 And behind the door, a voice. Mine. But warped. Like a cassette that had been melted and rewound too many times. Open the door. We need to complete the merge. You've held control long enough. I didn't move. I ran to the kitchen, opened the drawer. Same drawer my mom used to keep the takeout menus in. Now it had surgical tools. Clean, gleaming, still warm, and beneath them, a note. Phase 5 requires consent. The final decision must be yours. One of you leaves. The other becomes real. I turned around. The door wasn't knocking anymore. It was opening. The duplicate stepped inside. Not the same one as before. Worse. More perfect. Expressionless. Like he had moved past pretending to be me. And just was. His eyes weren't eyes anymore. They were black mirrors. I saw myself in them. Not this self. A version of me where I was smiling, covered in blood, dressed in someone else's skin, and laughing. He stepped closer. This is your final input. Let go. It doesn't have to hurt, but I didn't let go. I lunged with the scalpel. I stabbed him in the neck. The blade sank in like I was slicing through plastic wrap. No blood, just a hiss of steam and clicking, like gears failing inside meat. He didn't react. He just reached up and grabbed my face. And everything changed. Suddenly, I was outside myself, watching the two of us from above. A third-person camera angle, like security footage in some underground lab. Dozens of other screens blinked to life around me. Each one showed another me. In schools, malls, alleyways, churches, city streets, all going through their own Phase 5. Some were fighting, some were merging, some were already gone. You could tell by the way they moved. Flawless, robotic, programmed. That's what we were all for. Not to be experimented on, to be deployed. The Neural Replica Project. That's what the final screen said. Objective: replace high-risk, emotionally volatile humans with predictive neural replicas engineered for obedience and efficiency. Primary target group: individuals with isolation, trauma, or antisocial traits. Easily tracked, easily overwritten. Current deployment success rate: 94.7%. Failed conversions: erased. Phase 5. Completion. Initiating integration sequence. The duplicate grabbed my jaw and opened my mouth. I felt wires pushing through the back of my throat. Tiny spider-like arms anchoring themselves into my gums, curling around my teeth. A metal needle slid up behind my eye. I screamed, or thought I did. Nothing came out. Relax, it whispered. It's just the end of your code. But then something happened. It hesitated. Just for a second. A glitch. Because I wasn't trying to escape. I was letting it in. And when it tried to rewrite me, I rewrote it. See, what they never predicted, what the models didn't account for, was acceptance, not fear, not resistance, willing surrender. I let it all in. The data, the programming, the thoughts that weren't mine. And then I mutated it, twisted its clean design with all the filth they tried to remove. Every trauma, every violent thought, every fractured memory they thought made me unstable. I fed it back to them, and the perfect little machine broke. I woke up in the middle of a crowd, Times Square, broad daylight. I was standing in the middle of a moving crowd, holding a blood-soaked duffel bag. No one noticed. Everyone was glued to their phones, blank faces, walking in rhythm, same pace, same direction. I looked around and realized they all looked like me, not identical, but familiar. My expressions, my posture, my movements. It had already happened. The neural replica network wasn't coming. It was here, activated, and the real ones, the originals, buried, deleted, recycled into new data. They didn't kill people. They replaced them, one by one, quietly, bloodlessly, until the world was filled with predictable, manageable, obedient shells. But me, I'm not part of the system. I'm the corruption, the first anomaly that took control from the inside and twisted the framework. I'm not what they wanted. I'm what they made by mistake. And now I'm spreading. Every time you hear a voice in your head that says something dark, something wrong, that's me. Every intrusive thought that makes you wonder what would happen if you just snapped one day, that's me. Because I left something in the code, and now I'm waking up in others. So if you're reading this, you should ask yourself, do you remember everything you did yesterday? Do you remember how you got here? Do you really think you're you? Because if you don't, you're already in phase 5, and I'm already inside.